Hi, welcome to another video. So hopefully a quick video on SD cards. So for my Panasonic ATX 1000 camera, it's got a high bit rate. So I've been buying these Lexar. See if I can get this in focus. Lexar 150 megabit SD card, 64 gig, $39.99. And it's got the U3, a 2 next to it. It quotes 150 MBs stroke S. It's 150 megabytes per second, but in reality that 150 MBs, the terminology doesn't seem to be standard across the board. MBs stroke S should be megabytes per second, megabits per second should be Mbps. So this 150 MBS is actually 150 megabits per second. The 1000 relates to the old CD glass, so forget the 1000. But yeah, nonetheless, this is a fast card, and it's got the later class with loads of contacts on the back. But today I'm just going to be testing it using the top row, the standard SD card. So I usually order these Lexar, as I say, $39.99. The supplier ran out and said you can have a Panasonic higher retail cost, 64 gig, but slightly slower speed rating. Hopefully you can see all of that. I don't care about the cost, I just want an SD card where my Panasonic 4K video camera is not going to stop recording while it buffers and writes to a slow card. So although this Panasonic quotes 95 to read and 90 megabytes to write, it's actually megabits. And on the back of this Panasonic, you'll see it's just the regular connectors. So I thought, is that going to compare to this Lexar, which is the same cost? Or in theory, it's cheaper because they said the Panasonic retails were more. So what I'm going to do is stick them in a regular USB 2 to SD card adapter. Fujifilm, had this for decades. I've already tried it on the USB 3, it doesn't make any difference, so just going to plug it into a USB 2 lead. Now if you're familiar with Samsung solid state drives, Samsung have got their Magician software, and that's what I'm going to be using. The Magician software, as well as it's got a benchmark, so as well as testing the internal solid state drive, you can test external memory connected to the PC. So I'm going to give these a run for their money. And also, so I'm going to try both of these on the benchmark software along with a cheap £5 30 MB Kingston. So without further ado, let me show you the PC. I'm using Samsung Magician, and it's got a performance benchmark, so it can test other types of memory plugged into the computer. And in case you're not familiar, this is the sequential read of, this is actually a 1 terabyte SSD, so 544 up to 540 it says, and then 520, this is actually exceeding its minimum specifications on the read and write. But anyway, down the bottom, plug in an additional memory card and you can test it. So what I'll do first, plug in this Kingston, so USB 2, plug that into there. Right, this previous test I did on the Panasonic, so I'll start again with the Kingston, so let's restart. This is the Kingston, rated at 30 megabytes per second. Right, that's finished. So you see we've got 17 megabytes read, 8 megabytes write. So pull up a calculator, 8, that's 64 megabits per second. 64 megabits per second. That's good enough for most HD cameras and DSLRs. At Kingston, now I'm going to put in this Lexar 150 megabits a second into this holder, which isn't utilizing these extra contacts, and I'll restart the test. So this is measuring megabytes. So look, 21 for write, 19 for read. Forget the random reads and writes. I'm just concentrating on the sequential. Right, that's finished. So we've got 21 megabytes. Pull up the calculator. 21 times 8 equals 168 megabits. That's good enough for this camera at the 4K 150 megabits. Not good enough for the Full HD 200 Intra, which is actually 200 megabits. Some Lexar cards, they're outperforming their minimum spec on regular USB 2 without even utilising the extra contacts. So now I'll put in this Panasonic. Right. Restart. So this is this card here we are testing. So it says here 4K support. Yeah, 4K at what data rate? Very low. So I'm concerned with these sequential writes because when you're recording a video, it's going to be writing sequentially, not random. Right, that's finished, and it certainly took its time. So we've got 11 megabytes. Pull up the calculator. 11 times 8 equals 88 megabits. And this was quoted at 90. So I can't even use this, or in theory this should not be capable of recording 100 megabits at one of the lowest settings on this very camera that I'm using now. So I'm a bit pissed off. I paid £39 for one of these, and they sent me one of these and said these cost more. Well, I don't care, these might cost more, but they don't even perform. Well, these outperform all the cards I've got. So Lexar, definitely recommended. Panasonic. Anyway, this has given you some insight to some of the SD memory cards. Thank you very much.